All right, we are live. I'm so excited to have my first community conversation here on Substack. I'm going to give it a moment for folks to come in. So we'll give it a good minute just to see some folks jump on. I meant to have my music playing in the background, but um, we will just ride it out here for a moment. Let's
Hey,
see. I don't know what's gonna
Mariah.
play. Let's see. Hi. Not Luther Vandross. We'll just give it like one more moment. Hello, Mariah.
Mariah and I went to college together. So,
Thank you for showing up, pulling up on us. Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. So I first just want to introduce myself. I'm Janelle. I call myself a joy and well-being coach, and I am a certified coach and a community and experience designer. This is one of those community experiences that I design. Community conversations is an opportunity for us to come together and discuss community topics that aren't often discussed but needed. So this is the third season. My first season was recorded on Instagram, so you can go to my Instagram and see the first season. The second season is on YouTube, and going forward, all episodes will be on YouTube. So you will be able to see this recording on YouTube. I am noticing a little lag. So in the chat, let us know if at any point it lagged a little too long or something like that. Okay. And so please subscribe to my newsletter with Joy Janelle. That way you will be notified when that recording is uploaded to YouTube. I'm excited about the conversation tonight. We have our guest, Quavila, and a couple weeks ago, I saw her make this post, and I'm just going to read what the post said. It says, I saw a friend's announcement about her and her husband building their dream home and felt something I wasn't expecting. I wanted to call it jealousy, but it was actually grief. And that post inspired tonight's conversation and tonight's topic. But before we get straight to the topic, I want Quabila to introduce herself and the origin of her community, Black Women Get to Be.
yes, thank you so much, Janelle. And thank you to everyone who's joined us for this conversation today. As Janelle said, my name is Quabila. I am the creator and space holder of Black Women Get to Be. At its core, Black Women Get to Be really is my love letter to Black women who really want to live life on their own terms, who are, exhausted by all that the world keeps demanding of us, but don't want to give up on their dreams. As a Black woman who I call myself a multi passionate person, and that just basically means that there's a lot of different dimensions to me, right? And I've often felt like in expressing those different dimensions, people want to like try to force me back into a box. And so this space that I created and the words that I write and the community that I'm just trying to build really is rooted in this idea that we get to be, we get to learn, we get to do anything that we want to do, right? Anything that calls us to show up in the world in the ways that we believe we need to show up. And so that's what led me to launch this space. I've had like different endeavors before, but Black Women Get to Be really has stuck with me. And I'll say, even though my primary audience is Black women, I do have, men and folks from other races who do, resonate with my content. And everybody is welcome. Just understand that at the end of the day, this is for Black women.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing with us the origins of your community. And I would love for us to go ahead and pivot into our topic, um, the grief and relief of choosing a different path.
Hmm.
So tell me where that begins for you.
Yeah, I want to be succinct because I don't want people to go to sleep, because this is a long story, right? I think at its crux though, um, I, like many other Black women, am a high achiever. And because of that, there has been, right, a perception of me throughout my entire life, right? A perception about how educated I am, how much I'm able to get things done, how much I've accomplished. And with that has come an expectation that, like, I'm gonna follow a certain path, right? So first and foremost, I did go to college. I went to college twice. I have an undergraduate degree and a master's degree. Um, and I must say, in doing all of that, the way my life looks now is very different than what people may have expected from making those choices that, honestly, like, I believe were the only choices available to me. Um, Mariah is on here. Mariah went to law school. I wanted to go to law school at one point, I thought. But I made a different choice. I decided to focus a little bit more on public policy, which is a little bit adjacent to law, but I did that. And in doing all of that, I can say, like, it's cool. Like, I'm very good at the work, but that's not what I feel called to do, right? For folks who are here from my community, y'all know that in addition to Black Women Get to Be, I'm a farmer, I'm a master gardener in training, I'm a traveler. Um, y'all don't know this yet, but I've been dabbling a little bit in DJing. Like, there's just so many different things that I want to do, am doing, and want to express to the world. And, I remember it was, I don't know how many years ago it was, but I had someone who I connected with via social media tell me that I was not a creative. And that stuck with me when that person said that to me, because the perception of me is that, oh, you're book smart. You're going to change the world through, like, your education. And it's like, that may be true and has been true given my career, but there's also all these other, facets of me. And I will never forget that person saying that to me, because I was like, who gets to decide who is a creative and who isn't, right? And so for me
Exactly.
though, like, for me, even though I have embraced and I love all these different aspects of myself, there's still grief, right? There is that grief, that sadness of, like, dang, maybe if I had chosen a more, like, traditional path, maybe if I didn't try to, like, change the world or, like, live out my dreams, maybe I would be further along, right? And whether that is, like, in terms of my relationship status, my finances, even, still living in the US. I have long had dreams of living abroad. Maybe I would have gotten there already, and so as I said, in that post that I wrote, it's not even jealousy. It's just like grief. It's sadness. It's like, well, because you chose a different path, you chose to embrace something else, it's going to take you a little bit longer, and so that's really what that was about. Is me just coming to terms with, like, that sadness that does creep up, even though I am happy with the choices that I have made, recently, to be where I'm at.
Yeah. Two feelings can exist, right?
Yes.
I reflect on some of my biggest accomplishments, or like I've moved like 6, 7 times. And although I'm proud of myself, there's another side where I'm moving alone again, or not feeling supported sometimes with the move. Um, Starting a new job, right? People think like, oh, she must be happy. She's starting a new job, making more money. But like, you're doing it on your own, or just even challenges. Two things can exist at one time. You can be excited, but also overwhelmed with the learning a new job and new
Mhm.
people.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah. So what oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, like, we don't name it enough. And I felt like I really needed to name it because I do think there is this perception like, oh, you just do all these things. Oh, you're living. I want your life. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't know what I'm like, having to tell myself daily to keep choosing, making this choice, right? To keep choosing this path. Because to be honest, it can be lonely. It can be isolating when so many people are caught up in the rat race,
Mhm.
of living in the US, especially. They see you doing something different and they're like, oh, must be nice. And it's like, I've made a lot of sacrifices to have this life. It's not all, picturesque shots, in Guatemala or wherever else. Like, I'm making sacrifices.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love for the listeners to leave in the comments what's one thing that you've had grief about with the life path you chose. So in the chat, we're talking about the grief side of things. We will get to the relief side, but for now, share in the chat what has brought you grief with the life path that you chose or just happened to you. Um, is that a part of your story at all? Where it's like some things you didn't really choose, they chose you, maybe the some parts of your path. Yeah. How about you, Quabila? Have you we titled this like choosing a different path, but is there parts of your path that chose you?
Hmm. That's a good question. Are there um I mean, I think in the sense that, you know, the work that I do that is very like rooted in like justice, right? And liberation, um, for all intents and purposes was like forced upon me, right? Just living in this country, attending the schools that I attended, living in the communities that I lived in. Like I inherited this work. And I have grief in that as well. Like there are days where I'm like, why couldn't I just inherited like the tech bro gene or the Wall Street gene, but then I'd be having a whole host of other problems. So there's that. I think that is true of my journey.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. And I see in the chat, Mariah is sharing some of her grief experiences. She mentioned how lonely it is. There's not a lot of people who can relate, that
Mhm.
she hasn't fully transitioned yet out of law, but the small decisions I'm taking are definitely isolating. And also grieving not having a thriving, aligned friend circle. And then we have another guest listener that says, I feel grief that I didn't choose my dream of being a fiction writer when I was younger and more eager for context. For context, I'm in tech. It's fabulous, but at the same time, incredibly isolating. So thank you all for sharing. And we can all relate career paths, friend, different live. Um, I know in the past for me, for years, I longed for a close knit friend group in my area because I've always lived far from my friends.
Mhm.
And now living in Baltimore, proximity is shorter. So making those shifts in life, that's something I chose to move here. because I was like, I want to be around more people that are single because I was living in like communities of families and partners.
Hmm.
And so here, more people are single, and I have a community of single women. So you have to decide, like, look at where you can make those pivots, even if it isn't a big move, maybe looking for groups that already have what you're looking for in that group.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for sharing, everyone. So the other part of choosing a different path is the relief of the path that you're on. When I was reading your article, at the end, you talked about that aha moment of, looking around and recognizing you're able to learn something new and share with your community. So, if you could talk to us about some, the things about your life path that have given you relief.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are in a, what is it? They call us chronically online now, right? We're constantly connected. We're constantly consuming other people's lives, world news, catastrophes, etc. And I will say, being rooted in the earth, um, moving more slowly and intentionally, for me, I do think affords me a certain level of like mental protection that other folks don't have. I also think foregoing corporate America in particular, right? I'm in like the nonprofit sector adjacent to the public sector. Also means I'm not dealing with like corporate politics. That means the nonprofit sector is not by any means, without its problems, you know, but I do think I don't necessarily navigate some of the same things that my peers who are in corporate do, because I've decided like, hey, I need more flexibility in my schedule so that I can go be on the farm, so that I can go visit other farms. And that means maybe, I'm not earning as much income as I would like to. But I pretty much have a lot of control over my schedule. And I know that, if I was to transition from this space to another job, I lose that flexibility. I lose the ability to go to the farm. I lose the ability to um, just move with the level of freedom that I have. And so that is relieving for me, even with Substack, right? Like I don't get to have the mental capacity to express my creativity, if I am caught up in, working 80 plus hours a week or what have you. So being connected with the land, honestly, is deeply healing. I do practice plant medicine or herbal medicine. So, like, that's one way that I connect with the plants, but I'm actually getting my hands in the dirt. Um, I had a part time or seasonal job at a local farm here. I mean, excuse me, local garden in the National Arboretum. So, like, I do a lot, right? I do a lot and I do have a lot, and I'm very thankful for that, and know that like it's like me saying this stuff out loud and connecting with people in those spaces that helps keep me grounded and like remind me of the beauty of the choices that I've made.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I definitely see how you light up talking about that, having those, the flexibility and the options. And I would love for the listeners in the chat, please share with us a relief that you get from the life path you chose. Although in the beginning we spoke about the grief, and those that just joined, we're talking about the grief and the relief of choosing a different path. So for those that just joined, you're welcome to share both. Share a grief moment of the path you chose, and share a relief. Because what we have been discussing is that two things can exist at one time. And I would also love to hear in the chat whatever whatever everyone's comfortable with. But what is the different path that we chose? That's a big thing. Like, I could have stayed in my hometown and I probably would be married, possibly have kids, but I chose to go to school away from home and stay away from home. I've never moved back. And that was important to me. As a teen, I envisioned myself living elsewhere. So the path was already like formulating and I'm just staying on it. But with it comes, I've moved like 6, 7 times and I'm definitely going to write about that. And that comes with a lot of things as well. So yeah, I would love to hear. I see Mariah. Thank you for being so engaged. Mariah says, I finally feel in control of my life, like I'm the main character of my story and not just a supporting one, which I felt like for so long. I hear that.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
And
Yeah.
that's true,
Yeah.
especially I think of Black women because of the roles that we play, right? Both in our like immediate family, and in the broader community and in the workplace. Like I cannot tell you how many times, like even now, like I think about um kind of the expectations of me versus some of my peers, right, in the workplace. Um or when I've decided to like step outside of that and have a boundary, how all of a sudden now, things are an issue or a problem. And so I know that there's a lot of like, there can be a lot of fear that comes with choosing a different path, but it's like, you know, the next day is not guaranteed. And I just think that, between the pandemic and between what's going on now in our country and in our world, like we owe it to ourselves to at least try, right? To at least try to go after our dreams. And like maybe you try and then you say, you know what, I'm gonna pull back, and then maybe you try again, right? Like there's no right or wrong way to go about choosing a different path, but just the audacity and the courage to choose it in the first place, I think is worth celebrating and honoring.
Yeah. And it's never too late. So some people chose the traditional path.
Mm-hmm.
They chose the path that their parents told them, or that their, community told them, this is the path you stay on, or this is the path to success. But
Mm-hmm.
guess what? It's never too late. It's never too, you don't age out of choosing different. Really, you can choose a different path every day.
Yep.
That's the real tea of it all. Like, you can choose a different path every day. You can rebrand every day. So I just want to encourage everyone on the chat, if you're considering making some changes, start right this moment, start tomorrow, because the life we're living now is because of the decisions we made a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. We're living
Mhm.
in that right now.
Yep. Yep. And again, like one of the things, I think I said this in like a subsequent post, but one of the things we touched on this a bit ago, just about the isolation, right, that comes from choosing a different path, or like even going down that quote unquote traditional path, but still desiring something else and folks not really being able to relate to it. I want for all of us, everyone who's listening, Janelle, myself, I want for all of us to have that community that does make walking whatever path, easier. At the same time, I think the honest truth is that when you choose to live your life differently, um, it's really going to be you that is picking yourself up, that is keeping yourself going, because our society is just not designed right, to support and encourage
Yeah.
disruptors, people who color outside of the lines, or whatever other metaphor you want to have for choosing a different path. And I think there's this book actually that I read a while ago. It was an audiobook actually. It's called The Courage to Be Disliked. I forget the author's name. I do believe it's the
Mm.
author is maybe Japanese or something of the sort. But that book, basically, since reading it or listening to it, I've taken on this like belief that, like, it's okay to be disliked. It's okay that everybody doesn't see my vision. Like, I don't need everybody to approve. Like, I don't need my mama to approve. I don't need my best friend to approve. I need to be able to approve because I have to live my life, and that doesn't mean that I don't care about other people's perceptions of me, but it just means that those perceptions, they don't have supremacy over my own. Because again, I got to be able to live with me at the end of the day. And I think if we can lean into being okay with being disliked a bit more, that may open up room for us to choose differently. You know what I mean?
For sure, for sure. And I will definitely include that in the recap newsletter. I'll include your recommendation of that book, The Courage to Be Disliked. So everyone on, please subscribe to both of our publications here on Substack so you can stay connected in conversations like this. This is what we write about. This is what the communities we create are around these similar topics, and always come back to it. So as we wrap up, I would love to like talk about celebrating the path we chose, because when you choose a different path, we are often not celebrated. We're often kind of like pushed to the sideline, or and
Hmm.
sometimes forgotten, because we don't have the I'm just going to throw out some traditional things, the traditional career, the traditional um relationship or marriage or children,
Hmm.
or being a homeowner, just staying on that like by the book life path. And it's
Hmm.
like, if you don't fit into any of those categories, because I don't fit into any of those categories, um where do I go? How do I celebrate myself, and how do I communicate to other people like I want to be celebrated too?
Yeah, I think it honestly comes from I really do believe it comes from yourself, right? Like you taking every opportunity to honor and celebrate what you've done. And so um let's say you want to travel by yourself. I would say I'm a professional solo traveler, but I know so many people that have never traveled, especially abroad solo. And I know that sometimes, our families, they can be really quick to be like, oh, you shouldn't go over there. Like, why would you need to be careful? Like they just like project all of this like fear and anxiety, and expect you to like behave that way while you're on your trip. And when you get back, expect you to like tell horror stories. And instead, to me, it's like, don't lean into that. Tell everybody you had the most amazing time. It was wonderful. Even if you had those moments of like, dang, I feel lonely or whatever, like, do not give people the satisfaction of thinking that they were right. Right. Um, Yeah. Mariah and I, so we both, like I said earlier, we went to college together. We both got awards from our university to travel abroad, and we went to Europe. And while we were able to like meet up there, we traveled there independently. We had some other friends who traveled as well. And so she's talking about the resistance that she got on that trip. But like, it was life changing, Mariah, right? It was life changing. And like,
Yeah.
again, people expect
Mhm.
you to be like, oh yeah, no, you were right. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just did X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I can't live my life like
Mhm.
that. Like our ancestors did not endure what they endured for us to
Yeah.
cage ourselves, right? To cage our minds, to cage our hearts. Um, and
Hmm.
so again, do not give people the satisfaction of trying to disprove your embrace of different. Don't do it. Yes, we're like 2 months. 2 months we were gone by ourselves, just
That's
gallivanting.
awesome. That sounds so fun. And that's what life is all about, like leaning into opportunities, continuing to learn, about yourself educationally, um, and coming together for conversations like this. Something I've been seeing on TikTok, and I would love for everyone in the chat to let me know if you've seen the age of disclosure trend on TikTok. And it's all about people being honest about their financial situation, the decisions they made that, may have not worked out, or what they're, how life is going for real. Um, and I've really enjoyed seeing those conversations. I'm actually hosting an Age of Disclosure event through a Black women's networking group that I'm in. So if anyone in the chat, please DM me on the side if you want to join this Black women's networking group on Discord. So anyway, the Age of Disclosure is about getting real about the life path we chose, or just like what's happening in life, because people can look and be like, oh, so and so is traveling everywhere, and the solo travel thing, or they have a great group of friends and the career is amazing, and really they're living on credit, and they're, 100,000 plus in credit, in debt, excuse me. Those friends are not really their friends. They're actually emotionally abusing them and things like that. So we just need to get honest about, you know, what is going on in life, because you're not alone, and you don't know who you will help. Honest. And that is why I have these conversations, community conversations. So I hope that you all can check out some previous conversations. So as we wrap up, I do want to I would love for you to share a final like nugget of wisdom, just overall on this topic. What is, like, if you could leave everyone with advice or wisdom, what would that be?
Yeah, I think my sort of parting words would center around like your light is needed in this
Mhm.
world. I was trying to recall the exact conversation I had with an older woman recently, when I was sharing about my travels. Actually, now I remember. So there was a woman, she regularly volunteered at the youth garden where I was working seasonally. And I was telling her about, I'm going here, I'm going there to do this and do that. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, and every weekend I would see her. And then finally, one weekend, she told me, she was like, you inspired me so much that I've booked a solo trip to, I can't remember the country, but she booked herself a solo trip. It might have been Mexico. She might have booked a solo trip to Mexico City. And that moved me so much because she's probably in her 50s, I want to say. And her telling me that me specifically living my life on my own terms encouraged her to do that. Um, was like an affirmation. And so, as hard and as isolating as this can all be, your light, you never know how your light can change somebody's life. You never know what you being yourself and being different will inspire someone else to do. And one of the songs that I always go back to is by this artist named Ashley DuBose. I may not be saying her last name correctly, but it's Ashley DuBose, and it's called Be You. And the song is like, the chorus is like, it's okay to be you. You are different. You got your own swag, something else, and baby, that's cool. And like, it's just very affirming, right? Like, do your thing, be you, and everything will take care of itself. Again, it's not going to be easy, but be you. So that's what I got to say.
Thank you so much, Quabila. I really appreciate your time today. Please share with everyone where they can find you. And I will include that song in the recap as well. So,
Okay.
as I mentioned earlier, everyone, please subscribe so you can get the recap. I'll include that song. But where can everyone find you? And if you want to share anything that you have coming up or we should be looking forward to.
Yes, so you can find me here on Substack at Black Women Get to Be. You can also find me on Instagram at Black Women Get to Be. Admittedly, I don't post as much on there. I also have my personal Instagram, Quabila Says. So you can find me there. I will, admit a little bit. I'm kind of anti social media, but then I'm on social media. So, in any event, you can find me at those places. And then in terms of what's up next, I've been sitting on something that I like discussed back in January, or that I like wrote a post about. It's this series called Retire the Cape. And it's really about just how we need to take off that superwoman, magician, whatever you want to call it, cape, and really lean into, living life more easefully and more intentionally. So I still hope to share that with the world. A lot of stuff has already been created and written, but I just need to get it out into the world. So keep your eyes out for that. But otherwise, you can just, find me on Substack primarily.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Everyone, go follow her everywhere and support. And this is Community Conversations. You can find me at With Joy Janelle on all platforms. And I look forward to our next community conversation. Let me know in my DMs if there's certain topics you want to hear about, or if you want to be a guest speaker as well. So,
Yes.
with that, I hope you all have a great evening and rest of the week be joyful. Okay. Good night.